Hey, I'm Ron Drotos from KeyboardImprov.com, and welcome to day 25 of my 31-day Jazz Piano for Beginners workout challenge. And yes, every day it started at 1, and then 31's up here, and then 10 and 31, and now it's getting pretty close because we've been doing it every day. So congratulations on sticking with it, forming good habits. And today it's going to be a piano lesson on the 12-bar blues, basically, but it's specifically in a way that we're going to understand the jazz blues progression and how it's derived from the classic blues progression. And if you really understand it, then it really helps you learn jazz standards such as Blue Monk, Straight Note Chaser, Billy's Bounce, because you see these and you'll understand, okay, well, it's still a 12-bar blues, but they use these chords here and they use those chords there. And you know, and I wish that I had gotten this kind of an explanation when I was starting, because I was just so confused for so long. You know, what's a blues? What isn't a blues? So this is going to be a chord only day, and you can do it either with your right hand or your left. And I'm more concerned with going very thoroughly and helping you learn it forever rather than going fast. So we might cover the whole progression in one day, or it might take us 2 days or even 3 days, but we're going to learn it really well. Because if you learn it really well, you just have to learn it once. So, set my time for 20 minutes. So we're going to learn in the key of C. So a real traditional blues in its most basic form would just even be a C triad. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with the first 4 bars, which is the first phrase. So if you think of a 12-bar blues as, I'll go this way so you can see across the page, 4 measures, 4 measures, 4 measures. So it's 3 phrases. I wish I had a third hand. 1, 2, 3 of 4 measures each. That's the basic pattern. That makes 12. In the beginning, they could have done anything. They could have done a 14-measure blues, a 13-measure blues, a 24-measure blues, an 8-measure blues. And you still can, but the standard, you know, things get codified, standardized over time. It's come down to us as 12 measures. So if you say let's play a blues, unless you specify 8 measures or 16 or something, people are going to assume it's 12. And the first 4 measures are the 1 chord. So let's just play it as if it's a traditional blues by holding down the C or playing different rhythms for 4 measures, just C, a C triad. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, basically we're home. We're on the tonic, we're home. It's the feeling of comfort, sitting around the hearth, drinking hot chocolate or whatever you do, being home, being secure. That's the 1 chord. Now, a lot of times, and in jazz just about every time, we'll add a dominant 7th on top. So it's a 4-note chord, C, E, G, B flat. We're not going to get into the theory here because I think it's best by just playing and then later on saying, oh, how do you make a dominant 7th chord? But guitarists, for instance, would learn where to put their fingers, they start playing, and then they learn the theory afterwards. At least that's what we're doing here. So, you know, different approaches at different times. So let's do the same thing with 4 measures of C7. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 4 full measures. There's a lot of jazz blues that just do the same thing. Let's do it at a faster tempo, like a medium swing tempo. We're just going to stay on that 1 chord for 4 measures. Now, if you know 9th chords or 13s, you can do that. But the C7, if you really know that in different inversions eventually, that's great to get started, and you can stay there for a long time. It's more important to be in the right rhythm than to try fancy notes and not quite pull it off correctly. So here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. just stay at home on the hearth for 4 measures. Let's do it again, and I'll solo over it. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there you go. Now, another option in the jazz blues, and even classic blues too, would be in the second measure, we go to the 4 chord. So it will be C or C7 for 1 measure. Let's try that. And then we play an F or an F7 for 1 measure. So we have F, A, C, E flat. And then we go back to C for 2 more measures. It's just a little chord substitution to give a little more motion when we want it. So we're home, we go away a little bit, we come right back home. 1, 2, a C7, here we go. Now F7, back to C7 for 2 measures. Yeah, let's do that really slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4. F7, C7. F7 just by moving up to the root positions, or if you know an inversion, you can do that. But I prefer to do root position for a little longer than you think you should, because you get it so internalized that way. Let's try that again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, F7, back to C. Let's do it at a medium tempo. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, let's do it again while I solo. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's reverse the hands. If you were playing it in the right hand, play it in the left hand. Or if you were playing in the left hand, play it in the right hand. Slowly. 1, 2, C7, and now F4. Back to the 1. Yeah. Do it again. A little slow. You know what? When I was younger, I used to always increase the tempo. Now I get slower each time because I want it to, it's like putting your fingers in modeling clay. You keep them there for a while so that or the shape it is, you get it there and then you let it sit. So the imprint lasts longer. Like if you're just putting a hole like for a pencil holder, if you pull your thumb right out, the modeling clay sort of goes back a little. You put it in there, slowly hold it down. So we're making an imprint that we remember. 1, 2, 3, 4. Also, we get to experience the joy of playing a real slow blues. Let's go a little faster. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Now let's say this is totally easy for you. You've been playing jazz blues for a while on your own. You could experiment with different rhythms. Say, okay, I'll come in on the end of 1. Or I'll mix it up, right? So at your own level, everybody can find something to practice and really work on here. Get to know these first 4 measures a little faster. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now F. Good. Now let's go back to just playing the 1 chord 4 times, 4 measures, and see the difference. So we'll just stay on C7 for 4 measures. 1, 2. You know what to do. Yeah. Now we'll go to the 4 chord in the second measure and see what the difference is. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, and here. Yeah. Now, you might have a preference one way or the other, but the truth is that different songs work better one way or the other, depending on how the melody is, or the performer, or whoever it was. So, like Freddie Freeloader would be the 1 chord. It's in B flat. Just a B flat 7 for 4 measures. Straight no chaser. Goes to the 4 chord for the second measure. So they do work in different tunes. So what do you do when you get to a jam session? You listen to what the bass player is doing and see if you can follow along. All right, let's just do that one more time, either hand. A 1, 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. So now that's the first of our 1, 2, 3 phrases, right? The first 4 measures, first third of a 12-bar blues. What happens then? Well, then we go to the 4 chord. We go a little away from home. We go across the street to the store. We stay there for 2 measures on the 4 chord in its basic form, and then we come back to 2 measures of the 1 chord. That's the traditional blues. So let's start on this second phrase. We've done the first, now it's the second. We're going to do 2 measures of F7, 2 measures of C7. We're away from home, we come back. A 1, 2, F7, right hand. I didn't decide. Back to C7. Yeah, let's do that again. Right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Try with our left hand. 1, 2, F, dominant 7. Back to C. Yeah, let's try it the whole time through. Start with your left hand. From the very beginning, we'll do the C and then the F in the second measure. Back to C for 2 measures. Then in the second phrase, we'll do F7 for 2, C for 2. Okay? 1, 2, C7, go. Now F7, back to C7. Now F. Back to C. With the right hand now. 1, 2, C, and now F. C. So you can groove along at whatever level you're at, right? Okay, let's do it one more time, a little faster. Either hand. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, one more time. 1, 2, 1, 2, C7, F, C, F, 8 bars, it's 8 bars. It's 2/3 of the way through the tune, the first 2 lines, okay? Now, we're going to change one chord, but I want to explain why. The next phrase would normally, in the most primeval, basic blues, start with the 5 chord for 2 measures. So we go a little farther away. We go across town, then we come home. All right, so it would be just a 5 chord for 2 measures. And we can get there because we've just ended on 2 measures of F and then 2 measures of C, and then we just go to the 5 chord, okay? There's 2 different branches of traditions that will tell us what to play there. The original, sort of the mother chord progression, is just the 5 chord for 2 measures, the G7. In a lot of classic blues, like Chicago blues, Delta blues, and in a lot of rock and roll, that's one branch, they go from the 5 to the 4. So it would be 1 measure of G7, 1 measure of F, and then they go back to C. So it's like you're across town, and you come a little closer home, then you come home. All right? In jazz, they tend to go another route. Instead of a 5/4, what might you think they would do? You might already know this if you've been playing a while, but think about it. What's the most common chord progression in jazz that's, I've always said, is actually over-practiced at the beginning? The 2/5. So they, instead of just going to 5, they put a 2 in beforehand. So it would be D minor 7 to G7. Okay? That's the beginning of the 3rd phrase. So trying to help you visualize it here. That's why we're repeating so much. And you might not get it. Maybe it's too much, you know? Maybe it's too fast. So in that case, just watch this again. So you'll get it. So basically, in other words, okay, so we have our 2nd phrase that ends on the 1 chord, and then we're going to begin the next one with 2, okay? Now in jazz, what they do is they tend to put a chord in between. They put the dominant of the 2. So if D minor temporarily becomes the tonic, just temporarily, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, counting up from D. D, E, F, G, A 7th. It's called a secondary dominant. It's like we temporarily made D minor sound like a tonic, just for a second. A7, D minor. You could also look at it as a major 6 chord. Now, why would you want to take a song that's in the key of C and make D minor sound like a tonic for a second? Or at least push your way to it with the A7? Well, if you had a painting of a blue sky, there might be a little red in there, right? Or a little gray. Well, you could say, if you just took a little bit, you know, like a telescope, and you looked at that, you'd say, oh, it's a red painting. But then you pull away, you say, no, it's a blue painting, but it's got a little red in there. So it's a C painting, and it's got a little D minor as a tonic. So that's a little hard to visualize. So let's just go from the beginning again. And in the 8th measure, we're going to put an A7. So we start out slowly, either hand, with C7. 1, 2, 3, 4, C. Now we go to F. Back to C. Second phrase, F. Now we go to C. Now here's the A7. And it's going to take us to D minor 7 to start that. So I've written these chords down below. You could look at them too, down in the description. But let's just do that much a lot. And then I think we'll probably end the blues tomorrow and just start jamming on it. So here we go from the beginning with your left hand this time, starting on C7. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, F for the second measure. C. Now the F, the 4 chord. A7. So it's A, C sharp, E, G. Try that. A, C sharp, E, G. Major triad with the dominant seventh. Let's try it again. Left hand. 2, 3, C7. F. Back to C. F. Back to C. And then A7. Leading us to D minor to start this 2-5-1, coming back home for the final time in the form. Let's do it with our right hand now. 1, 2, 3, C7, F7, C7, F7, C7, and then A7, bringing us to D minor 7. Okay, so we've gone incredibly thoroughly, can't believe that 20 minutes is up. We've gone incredibly thoroughly today on the first 8 measures of the jazz blues, but it may have been a lot, right? So if you followed that, great. You worked on your rhythms and you really maybe got even a little more understanding of how that was derived. This is sort of the basic jazz form of the 12-bar blues. But on the other hand, if it went a little fast, don't get discouraged because sometimes these things take a couple of days, right? And even a couple of days is nothing because you're going to have this forever. I've never seen it explained in one place this thoroughly. So in any case, don't get discouraged because we're going to finish it tomorrow. You can study the chords that are written below today. And you're going to get this. So it's not about getting it fast. It's about staying with it, right? And you'll get it. So thanks for being here. There's some links for you to click if you're interested. And we're developing good habits. And I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.